Okay, today we're going to work on the human face again. And I'd like to remind you the reason for this is when you look at right brain, left brain theory, recognizing faces is a big part of the right side of the brain. And it means that you're going to have to really look at the shapes and the spatial relationships in order to draw accurately. And we're going to have to once again get away from words and focus in on this side of the brain. And to do that, I'm going to start you off with a little exercise, right like this, that has two different faces started, a profile view and a three-quarter view. And what I'd like for you to do is to create the rest of the head in both little sections and include the placement of the ear. So don't cover the ear up with hair because you don't want to draw it. I'd like for you to complete this whole head for each of these figures. And then we'll move on with the demo on this particular face. And we'll find out some misconceptions a lot of us have about drawing the human head. So when you're finished with this, turn this video back on and we'll move forward with this demonstration. Okay. So now, what we're going to work with is a different kind of drawing than the last one we did. We have a side view, which is called a profile. The last one was almost full frontal. And we're going to work first on proportion, getting everything in the right size and the right relationship to each other. And then we're going to work on a different kind of shading called cross-hatching. All right? So the first thing I'm going to do is to draw really big so that I can get the big measurements in first on my head before I worry about any details. And the shape of the head is kind of an egg shape, especially from the side. It's a little bigger in the back, if you notice, than the front, as far as thickness back here. And then we have the neck coming off the side here, and we have a little hint of the shoulder over here. Now, this is one of the biggest things you can always check on the head is where are the eyes? Because this is very consistent. The eyes are halfway down the head, if you notice, and there's a little note here to remind you. You can start at the top of the head, and remember the hair sometimes comes up and makes it a little higher. So you want to go under where the hair is and think about the top of the skull. And you've got the middle of the eye, and you go down, and then you find the chin. So if I mark about where I think is halfway, so that means the chin will be here. And I can adjust that if I want to, but I'm just kind of guessing. And then I'm going to move that all the way back so that I can line up other things in just a minute. So the next thing I can check is I can go, all right, eye to chin. Then I can turn my, actually let's use our pencil. I tend to use my fingers. Eye to chin, and then I can go from the front of the eye to the front of the ear. So if my eye is lined up here, I'm going to take my pencil, front of the eye to the front of the ear. So I'm going to make a mark where I figure the eye is, do that again, and make a little mark where I figure the ear is going to go. Now, all I'm doing are small marks right now, because that way I can go in and develop it in a minute when I feel like I'm ready. So the next thing I'm going to look at is eye to the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin. Sometimes that'll vary. Some people have longer noses, but basically that's about right. And then if I carry this line back, that's going to show me where the bottom of the ear is. So I know where to put the ear, the nose, the eye. And then the mouth is a little bit higher than halfway, and this mouth is slightly open. So now that I have those details just lightly marked in. I'm going to go in and start looking at the shape in here of this face. I think I'll start with a blind contour and just stare at the face and see if I can line it up, just to get to know the face a little bit. See if I can line it up within that blocking in. Oh, not quite, but it's close. The main thing I want to find out from a blind contour is I want to get a sense of how does this forehead happen. It's a little sharper. Then I'm going to change the angle of the nose. What do I do here? I think I'll use my pencil, check that angle. It's almost straight up and down. All right, and then if I check the nose to the chin, let's check that angle. So the chin does need to come back about right here. So once again, I'm going to go in here and do a little quick blind contour, get to see that eye, and down to the edge of the nose. All right. So it needs to move back a little bit. And this line is the middle of the eye. Now I'm going to look and think about that eye is a big ball that's set inside the skull. So I want to consider that as I create this shape. It's coming down over that ball and letting just a little bit show. Let's look at the angle of the lid, which is down. And all we have showing is this little part of the eye. Then we have this shape and this shape. And get back from that a little bit. Erase that distracting circle there. Now I'm going to look at this negative shape right here. It's very strong symbols for eyes, so this is an important negative shape right in here. Kind of a rectangle right there. This needs to be tucked up a little bit. And I'm noticing now that this actually needs to line up with this edge. So I need to bring this down. All of this is kind of reminding me that I should draw lightly when I start, because most of us need to change things around as we go. Got a shadow in here that I can look at to help me with that distance. Okay, and I believe I've gotten this a little too big. It's a very natural thing to draw eyes too large because eyes are what we usually look at when we look at a person, and we tend to focus on them. So double check the size of the eyes, and then we're going to go down from the edge of the eye and find the edge of the nose. And I am naming the parts because I need to communicate, but while you're drawing, if you can avoid that, it'll help. Now I'm going to look under here for this shape of the nostril. The nostril comes back over the shape of the lip coming out. Got this darkness, and then this needs to come out from that shape. So we're going to move this out. Look at this shape coming back. And of course this is going to be very different when a person has their mouth closed. But for this one, let's look at this negative shape in here to help us get the shape of the lip. Then we have the chin. Nose to chin, that lip should touch that angle. So that means my chin needs to come out a little bit. And it's got a little square shape there, kind of. Then I'm going to get this shape going up. And where should this aim? This edge of the chin looks like it would aim towards the back of the ear. All right, now I'm going to move on and do this line up with the ear. The top of the eye is actually what lines up with the ear, not the middle of the eye. All right, the top of the eye and the bottom of the nose. So top of the eye, bottom of the nose, and then I'm going to double check this measurement, eye to ear. Or with your pencil, top of the eye to the chin, front of the eye to the front of the ear. So now I can look at that shape and draw it in and hopefully have it in the right place. Draw it very lightly. Everybody's ears are different. Some are smaller and larger, so you want to double check that according to the person you're looking at. I'm going to create this hairline just to give me a negative shape up in here to check. And as I do that, I notice that this is more curved in my drawing than it is in her drawing. So I'm going to straighten that out a little bit, bring this down a little bit. I'm going to step back for a second, see if I have anything I need to adjust. The nose feels a little too long, might be because it's a little too thin. All right, so I've got the basic proportions. I'm going to aim this shape up to here, get rid of this line. Thank goodness for erasers. Then here's another element that quite often gives us trouble. The neck starts up right behind the ear. You can feel on the back of your neck and where it joins the skull and line it up with your ear. So feel that, and then let's get her head lined up correctly with her neck. All right, now we're going to start looking for those shadow shapes like we did in the last drawing. Shadows don't have names, so it's nice to focus in on them. But instead of using charcoal this time, this is a type of shading called cross-hatching. And I've got a shape here that comes across and down from about here. So the cross-hatching is not just, notice that the lines go with the shape of the face. And cross-hatching means lines crossing over one another. So it is a face, soft skin, so you don't want to make these lines really harsh. You want to let them curve with the face and make them as fine as you can. Along the front of this shape, we have lines going in towards the eye. And these lines on the lid are actually curving down. And then right back here, when you have a dark spot, this dark spot, you can go in there and just kind of scumble it back and forth to darken it. And this takes time, building this up lightly, because if you don't take your time, you're going to end up with a very rough looking face. So we are pulling these lines down slowly, noticing that they create a feeling of form. This white right here, there's a white shape where the light is hitting. And if I lightly do my cross-hatching around that white shape, it will give me a nice feeling of roundness. Even has a little shadow that goes up, a little strange shape here. All right, but this shape is darker, so let's let that get darker, and I've lost my little white edge here. You can always go in it with an eraser and pull out your whites, as you learned with the charcoal. Then this shape underneath is quite dark, creating a shadow. And we have another shape right here, a little triangle. Now all of these shapes are going to take time, and you're certainly welcome to fast forward this so you don't have to spend quite so much time watching it. But I'm going to keep working these lines in here. Get this little dark place right here. Every now and then I'm going to step back, see if I've got things lined up right. I'd like to tell you while I'm working on this that this is an image created by a woman who goes by the nickname of Swoon, S-W-O-O-N. She is a graffiti artist in New York City. And so anytime you do a study of someone else's art, you want to always give them credit. So this is a study of her work. So if I were to finish this and hang it up somewhere, I would say a study of Swoon. That's her nickname. Anyways, her work is quite beautiful. It always includes the human figure, and she uses her friends or people who are living on the street. She really likes everyday people to be in her compositions. I think they're beautiful. Build this up a little more. My pencil isn't very sharp. I think I'll grab a different pencil here. I've got this dark area right here, which creates this interesting little tilted shape and brings me up to the ear shape. But this has some cross-hatching that's just hatching, just single lines coming down. Then I have the cheek area has a very rounded shape. Once again, I want to build this up carefully. These pieces by Swoon are actually woodblock prints. So the cross-hatching is the best way to shade with a woodblock print, but I think they're great to draw from. I'm going to go in and darken this a little. These lines are going straight across here, and they're kind of blending up into the cheek shadow. And then these lines, darkening in here, a little darker in here. These are going, and try not to outline the lips, that tends to flatten them, so we don't want to do that. Alright, and we're going to get this area pretty dark right here, because that is under the lip, the protrusion of the lip. Then I'm going to check out that bit of a square chin just on the very tip. Still very feminine, but it's a bit square there. Then there's a bit of white shape right here, light hitting the figure. And of course my lines are pencil lines, so they are going to be lighter than what the artist had going as a woodcut. When you do a study of another artist's work, it's called a master study. You're looking at a master artist, and you are learning from that artist as if they were right there teaching you. I think it's a wonderful way to learn because, especially if you find an artist you like, you learn from them, and then you can incorporate some of those qualities into your own work. I don't want her face to be quite so darkly outlined. So, I'm going to use a kneaded eraser. It does a little better job, and pull some of this dark outline away. Because when you think about it, the human face is not outlined. It is simply a different shape and a different value. This dark shape coming here. Kind of working my way all the way back up here and noticing areas that need to get even darker. I'm going to take and look at this line that's going down from the eye to the side of the nose. The mouth should be back farther than that. So I think the mouth isn't open far enough. Bring that back, and I'm going to change this angle right here. That does a better job right here. Once again, double check. Still a little bit farther. Building up those darks. Double checking angles. This angle's almost straight across right here. This line right here keeps distracting me. So as I go along, I am slowly building this up because I don't want it to be too sharp looking. And I've clipped this image so that we could really focus on the face, but you can see where the ear continues up. There's cross-hatching in here. And then we've got some really dark lines coming down here. Allowing a light shape here, where the light's hitting your face. And then these lines are quite dark. When we do printmaking, you'll learn about how artists, when they create prints, are able to create these dark areas. We're going to use this to do cross-hatching. So these lines are darker under here, and then they lighten up as they go up the face. And let's notice this little light area here. And these lines are creating the shape of the chin. Right. So I'm going to keep working on this to build this up more, because when I get back and squint my eyes, I can see, remember that trick when we were doing the charcoal? As you're working, you move back every now and then and squint your eyes, and it'll help you see the darkest areas and the lightest areas. This is a very dark shadow, and then I come up very lightly to this area. And then I have this white area right here. That gives me that bit of light hitting the nose. This light area. Very, very gentle right there. If this got too dark, then the eye wouldn't show up, so this needs to stay gentle. And then out from the lid is where you can get dark, because the lid is lighter. Then to define the front of the face, there's just these little lines rather than a really dark outline. And that helps the face not look so flat. These are the guidelines I used to get started. I'm going to get rid of those. I think a little bit more work right here. And I don't want to lose that white shape right here. And I need to just keep building this up. And this is a really large area. I want to use very fine lines so that I don't make it look too rough. And then I want to notice right under here this shadow shape. And what does it line up with? I could go straight down from the ear, and that would help me with this shadow shape. And I think this light area here is very important. That light can really build this up dark. And I'm just going to go ahead and shade it in. pretty heavy. Moving my pencil back and forth, kind of scumbling that dark in there, so it's not all in one direction. I like that word, scumbling. I don't know why, but it just sounds like it'd be fun to scumble. So, notice with this piece that these cross-hatching lines are much bigger, and they really do a nice job of separating the face from the chest of the person. So I think that's a very important thing to notice. And they are quite bold. I'm not going to spend a lot of time recreating that, but I want you to be aware that different size lines are very powerful, much more interesting than when all the lines are the same size. For instance, this is definitely a stronger line. This is a stronger line right here, dividing these areas. And you can use a softer pencil. This is just a number 2. But if you can find a number 4, some of our pencils are darker and they will give us bigger, stronger lines. And you can always also mix in your charcoal with a regular drawing. I'm going to keep this pencil right now, to tell you the truth. And get this area finished up, much darker in here. That helps this come forward by adding the dark behind it. Get this little shape going here. And then, of course, we have this beautiful red color in our reproduction, but we are just going to concentrate on light and dark right now. And tell I need a little more dark here, a little more dark here. Build this up, getting some of these rounded lines going right up around here. Here, building this dark up. Measure this to the nose. Okay. My nose may be a little too long. Get this last bit in here, and I will call this a quick study of Figure by Swoon. And I want you to keep building yours up. Get some of these lines in here and see how much form you can capture. Remember to double check all these measurements. Line up the features, top of the eye to the top of the ear. Might have my ear a little too high. Bottom of the nose, bottom of the ear, and then this. Okay. Most of us draw the head too small. Probably needs to be more there. Okay. So good luck on that, and let me know if you need help. Right.